right. Hey, hello, everybody, and welcome to Game Changers. I got to tell you, I've done a lot of these Game Changers, but I am really excited today. So excited. Ian Laperriere, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I was a USA hockey official for 25 years. I ref over 2,000 games, so I love the sport. I like the Flyers, and I love you as a player. You're an amazing guy, and I'm so glad you're here as the Phantoms coach. So, ladies and gentlemen, my friend, I guess be my friend by the end of this, that's for sure, Ian Laperriere. Ian.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me, Tony. I didn't know you were a hockey guy, which I think our conversation is going to go really well then.
Yeah, so a lot of years, did it for a lot of years, and loved every minute of it. It's a great, great sport. And again, I remember your time. I'll just start with a little hockey, then we can get into the Phantoms. But I remember your time as a Flyer, and the game's changed a little bit. But when you were there was a lot of it was more physical, and you had to. And one thing you always did was stick up for players, which isn't an easy thing to do, and it takes guts.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I made my career. I played for 17 years, and I wasn't the most talented guy, but I love standing up for my teammates if something happened. And you're right, the game's changed. You still see some of that a little bit in today's game, but when I played, like from 1994 to 2011, when I retired, was more on the physical part of it, which suited me perfectly because that's the kind of player I was. And I'm not sure I'd be able to play in today's game, but I had fun. I'm just happy that now I can help the young guys become good professional and help them go to the next level.
Yeah, Ian, again, fighting is not what it used to be. Maybe I've won a game. Used to have, there are games that were literally penalties from start to finish. Yeah. But is there, just curious from the mentality, is it pressure for a player? I mean, you can get hurt and pretty quickly. And today, particularly, skaters are more stable, much larger. It's a gamble, is it not?
It is a gamble. Fighting is, it's not for everybody. It's not everybody wants to do it. And back then, you had to do it, especially the way I play. I was physical. I'd finish my check. I'd be under the other team's skin. So when you did that, you didn't have the referees. You didn't have the league protecting you. Today, the league is more, they're going more towards a fast game, a skill game than they used to. And that's okay. I'll be honest with you. I miss that part of the game, watching the game. Like I feel sometimes like I'd like to see a little bit more of that. I do have guys on my team that are willing to do that. I got Wilson, one of our captains. We get the Saunier, he's an undersized guy, but he's got his heart's as big as the building, and he's really, really tough. And I do have Hodgson. I do have guys that are willing to do that, but the game's not really there now anymore. So you can be a dinosaur. You can live in the past. You just have to adjust and embrace the new game.
Yeah, it's much faster game. It sure is. Equipment's better. People are faster.
They train better. They're like, when I first started, guys would take 1 month, 2 months off in the summer. Now they don't. They take a day or two and they're back training. They're fine-tuned athletes. They eat well. They train well. They have the best trainers in the world. So they're different athletes for sure, and I got a lot of respect for them.
Ian, you played in several different cities. I wanted to ask you, Philadelphia. Of course, you've got to say this. You're connected with the Flyers, but it is true that the Philadelphia fans appreciate a guy like you and your game as much or more than any city in the nation.
I tell everybody that, my career ended with I took a puck in the eye, and I said if I had to pick a team where an incident like that would happen, I'd pick Philly because I only played a year. People think I played 15 years here because the organization.
I would have thought you were there 10 years. That's how.
I know. Well, that's the thing. I bled twice for this team. I took one in the mouth over here. I had 100 stitches. I took one in the eye, and that ended my career. But like you said, people in Philly are blue collar people. They respect people that give their 100% out there, and I feel like that's what I did as a player. And like I said, if I had to pick a team where this incident happened, I would have picked the Flyers because the team just itself, Paul Holmgren and everybody, he gives his all for a team. We're going to help him for his after career, which is always the biggest worry for a player. Always wondering, what am I going to do after? I knew I wanted to stay in the game, but I didn't know if I'd get the opportunity. But because the way I played, people embraced me, and the organization did too. And that's why I'm sitting talking to you today.
Ian, I watched that game, by the way. One of the games where you got, just to give people an idea how tough hockey players are, you took a puck to the mouth. I think you lost, I want to say 4 teeth, but it might have been more. And you came out. I'm sorry?
8 teeth, 4 on top, 4 in the bottom.
And came out the next period. Is that right? With a cage on?
Correct. And I missed the second period because they stitched me up. They had to put Dr. Guy Lenz, who's a friend of mine, I had to put 100 stitches there to close me up, and missed the second, and I came back in the third. But like, the Paul Holmgren signed me here as a veteran. I was 36 at the time, 35, 36, and he signed me to bring leadership, to show the young kids that if you can play, you have to play. And that was fine. My head was fine. It was just I had a cut. I lost teeth, yes, but I was fine to play. So my biggest thing is not to be a hero. It's just to show my younger teammates like James Van Riemsdyk, Mike Richard, Jeff Carter, just to show them that if you can play, you have to be out there and give it for your team.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Ian, I had a puck. I lost 2 teeth. Got them replaced like all of us. But someone said, "Did you go to the hospital?" I said, "No, I did. I had another game to do right afterwards."
There we go. I like that. Referees are tough too.
Nothing like you. All right, so you're with the Fandoms now. Thank God. We love having you here. The organization's in a little turmoil right now. When I say turmoil, it hasn't, wins have been far and few between. How do you get out of that kind of hole, I guess, the lack of a better term?
They've been hit with injuries. The Flyers, you look right from the get-go, like a guy like Ellis was a big signing, a big trade, I should say, and he played 4 games, and that's your number one defenseman. So everybody's playing in a different chair that are not comfortable. A third defenseman, the second defenseman now, he's not signed for that, and you can go down the list. Kevin Hayes was never healthy. Broussard, who had a great start of the season, wasn't healthy. Sean Couturier wasn't healthy. Like, injuries, and not only that, like the guys that were signed to take those injuries away, like the Lashinsky, Allison, all those younger guys who are supposed to be the first call up, they missed the full year because of injuries. They're soon. Allison came back, got injured again. Lashinsky is going to be back soon, and you have guys like that, and it's just like it was a mess. Like, I know they don't want to use that as an excuse injury wise, but when you lose your number one, you lose your top 6 centermen. You can go down the list, like the top 4 with the Thompson and Brown that they want to get, and you have 2 guys that you'd like to call up, but they're injured. You can win in this league with no centermen. And again, I'll use the excuse for the Flyers, but it's tough. I feel bad for AV at first, and now I feel bad for Mike Hill, because it's tough to get your team going when you're missing everybody down the middle.
And I want to make sure I get my 2 questions in before I bring Lawrence Spence in. I want to, for our local people, what do you think of the Lehigh Valley? And how about that? The PPL Center is absolutely amazing, is it not? I want to make sure people realize how blessed we are to have that gorgeous, gorgeous place.
I love the Valley. I'll be honest with you. I'm moving my family there. Like, I sold a house in Jersey, and we bought a house up there, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place, and I can't wait to live there, full time. And the PPL Center, can beat that. Like, it's an NHL building, and the Brooks brothers did an unbelievable job building that building, and our facility, the gym, the offices. We get everything we need. It's I feel privileged. It's my first head coaching job. As I was an assistant coach for 8 years with the Flyers. And that was my first gig as a head coach, but I feel like it's not much of a change. We have great food. We have it's pretty much like the Flyers are treating their coaches, and if people have never seen the building or have never seen the locker room, well, I encourage everybody to come to a game and watch a game from there. It's just a beautiful building.
Does that mean, since you're here, Ian, you'll hang around with me every once in a while?
That's it. We'll go golf. I'm a big golfer in the summer. If you want to go golfing, I'm in.
You're into that. Ian, I want to also tell me about your growing up. I mean, obviously, French Canadian, I think.
You picked that up?
Yes. But tell me about where you grew up and how you ended up where you are today.
Well, I grew up in Montreal, born and raised, huge Montreal Canadian fans. Like, I grew up in a hockey family. My dad worked at the old Forum. My grandparents had the season tickets for 25, 30 years for the Montreal Canadiens. So hockey was part of, like, typical French Canadian kid. I had my first pair of skates at 3 years old, went outside skating in the park, and just typical what you see in movies or you hear about. That was me. And the passion came at a young age. Love the game, love hockey, love my teammates, love going to the rink, love doing the extra work. And from there, I played, little league hockey, and I wasn't great. I wasn't a great player. I was just a big coachable kid, and went to play junior. Left home when I was 16. went to play junior, and after that got drafted in the NHL. And at 20 years old, I was in Peoria, Illinois, playing 40-something games, and halfway through that year, went to St. Louis and started my NHL career. And typical, like, I'm not the only one. You can talk to a lot of my old teammates or even the young kids today. That's typical Canadian kid. You leave home around 15, 16 to go play. You live with a billet family. And, I wouldn't change it. Like, I'm here because of that. And I don't like to use the word lucky. I'm fortunate, because lucky, it's more like you don't do. I feel like when somebody's lucky, you don't do the effort to get where you're at. I did, and I'm not ashamed of saying it. I was the nerd who was in bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, just to make sure I was fresh for the next morning for my workout and everything. And I did that most of my teenage life, if you want, and I got rewarded for it.
Would you say a hardworking blue collar family? Is that where you got the work
Big
ethic?
time. Yes. My mom and dad, we weren't rich, we weren't poor. We had everything we needed, but we didn't have expensive vacation or anything like that. But my dad, and my mom, they did everything for me to have the top of the art new pair of skates or a good stick, and hockey school I needed to go to. There was nothing, but I had to show them that I was willing to do the extra yard, going the extra yard, doing the extra work, or if going to bed early, just to show my parents that I'm committed to that. I want to make sure I'm 100% when I wake up the next morning, to make sure my workout is good. And they never pushed me, but they saw that I had the drive, so they did all the sacrifice to help me out. And I can't thank them enough. I lost my dad years ago. I still miss him big time, but my mom's still around, and I'm just happy she is, and she can enjoy my career as a player, and she can enjoy my career as a coach.
I always think my favorite hockey name, by the way, is Marcel Dion.
I played in his building. I played in Drummondville. That's where he's from, and the building's called Marcel Dion Arena. And I met Marcel, super nice guy, very humble. Like he was a hell of a player. You picked the right one.
Yeah. Ian, I want one other question before I bring Lauren on. Today's coach, because you've seen it evolve. You've been behind the bench, and you've been with several coaches and good coaches, and it's a tough world today. You can often wonder for coaches. There's so much pressure. You're really assessed, obviously, every game by game, year by year. Can you talk about that pressure and what's different about today's coach compared to when you first started playing?
All right, I'll start. My first NHL coach was Mike Keenan. I don't know if you heard about. Okay. Oh my God, is right. You can't coach like that anymore, and I wouldn't want to coach like that, because I'm more like I think I'm a player's coach. I like to be honest with them, and I met with every single one of my players at the beginning of the year. I'm like, I asked them, what do you expect from me? They all said the same thing. We want you to be honest. And sometimes you got to be careful what you wish for, but honesty is the best way for me. Like, maybe I'm wrong. And when I'm wrong, I'm the first one to say it. Like, I'm not, I don't have an ego say, no, I'm right all the time. Like, I make mistakes, especially I'm a first year coach. I made a bunch of mistakes, and guess what? I'm going to make more mistakes. But as long as you own up to them, well, your players will respect you. And, I think that's one thing with today's kids. They want to know if you have something you want to show them, you want to make sure that you have the answer. If you tell them to do something, but you don't have any answer for them, why? Well, they're going to look at you and you're going to lose their respect. If you tell them the reason why you want them to do that, they will respect you. But I'll be honest with you, like for a first year coach, I have a great group of guys, unbelievable kids, and my biggest luck, if you want, it's my leadership group is amazing. Kyle O'Reilly has been an unbelievable leader for me. Garrett Wilson's been unbelievable for me. Bunneman, when he was with us, great. Willman, unbelievable. Clendenning, I feel like I'm fortunate. I feel like I'm lucky to have a great bunch of leaders, because in any business, it doesn't matter if it's hockey or not. You can be the boss if you want. I'm the boss because I'm the coach. But if you don't have your leadership group I'm in the locker room 24/7, so I don't know what's going on in that room. But I need those leaders to push in the same direction. If I have those guys pushing against me, I'm in trouble. So I'm lucky. I have a great group of guys, and they're all pushing in the right direction, and that's why we were able to turn our season around. And we still have a little work to do. It's a challenge every night. It's a hard league to play in. It's a tough league to play in, and but I like the direction of the team right now.
Yeah, the talent's amazing. I'm going to bring Lauren Spencer, but while she comes on, Ian, I want to say my second favorite name was Guy Lafleur. I always loved Guy Lafleur.
He was pretty good player too. I feel bad he's going through a lot of health issues right now. You know, he was a hero of mine. Like growing up in Montreal, he had no choice, but he's Guy Lafleur. He's a god back home, and it's tough to see your idols and gods going through tough time. You know, but that's life, I guess.
Maybe to tell young people, we're not as you think you're invincible, but you over time you realize that.
You're right. Well, especially when you see guys that you idolize, like you said. You know, I used to watch him on Saturday night, you know, scoring goals with his hair flying, and now you see him, and it's tough. But you're right, like we're not invincible.
All right, Lawrence, guy, and you can see it's a lot of fun and a great interview. It's all yours, Lawrence Spence. Go ahead.
Thanks, Tony, and thank you so much, Ian, for being on Game Changers with us today.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
I do have a couple questions for you. So my first one, during your career as a player, were there any coaching moments that stood out to you that have impacted how you now coach?
You know what? I was like that as a player. Like I was looking around. I always took little things from everybody, from my teammates too. Like as a player, I wanted to better myself every day. I look at Joe Sakic, who's I don't know if you know him, but he's one of the best players who ever played the game. I played with him in Colorado. Wow. I wasn't even close to be a Joe Sakic, but I'd be looking at what he'd do to prepare himself. I'm like, okay, I might add that to my routine, you know. And I did the same thing with coaches. You know, I had guys like I coach with Craig Berube. I really like his approach. He's an honest guy. He's a no nonsense guy, and that's the kind of coach I like to be. And another guy that coached me in LA was Andy Murray. Like he was really detailed, system detail. And you know, everything was nothing was left in gray areas. And as a coach, that's my job to make sure there's no gray areas. And I hate it as a player to look at a coach and I'm like, I'm not sure what he's saying there. And for me, I want to make sure my players know exactly what I want them to do. And if I need to show them 100 times, I will show them 100 times.
I definitely see a trend of honesty and transparency in what you're saying and what it seems like your coaching style is. Do you ever have to use any like tough love with your players as well?
For sure. And you know, the best example, and I got to give him credit, Isaac Ratcliffe, the Flyers just called him up. He played his first game 2 nights ago, and he played an unbelievable game. And 2 months, maybe more than that, 2.5 months ago, we were in Utica, and I sat him up, and I sat with him, and I told him why. Again, honesty, guys were asking, I told him why. And the next day he came to me, he's like, Lappy, which is my nickname. He goes like, I'm going to be the hardest worker in practice, and you'll never have to worry about that. And I got to give him credit. He's a lot of players can tell you that, but he's been on the ice working harder than I've ever seen him work every day. And that's the tough part to do. You can do it once or twice in a week, but it's to do it every day. And he's been doing that every day, and he got rewarded for it. Like he played with the Flyers 2 nights ago. I thought he played an unbelievable game, and he's playing again tomorrow night. So I wish him good luck. But again, when players come to you and they tell you something, it's the same thing. If I go to a player and I tell them something, I better come up with what I told them. Same thing the other way around. If they come up to me and say, I'll be the hardest worker out there, and they show it, I just gain a lot of respect for guys like that.
That really, I was going to say that ties into my second question as well. As the leader of a team or a leader of a company or an organization, you really set the tone for what your team's culture is. What kind of culture have you strived to foster for your team?
Well, you know, so you can say a hardworking team, like every coach has won that. But since they won, me and my staff, we brought a structure, a style of play, and identity. That's all the same. Like all those 3 words for me, it's the same. Like structurally sound, like the way we want to play. We have details into our game. Like you can ask any of my players, all the language we use. You come up with a word, I won't say it, but you come up with a word, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And it takes time, you know, you can't do that overnight. It's just repetition and make sure you clean up the gray areas in practice and videos and everything. But when the guys believe in that structure, even when you don't play well, and in a company where even when your company doesn't go well, if you have a structure that people can go back into and know they feel comfortable in that structure, it's going to help bring your team back on track. And I feel like our team, we were, again, Utica, like a month and a half ago when our season kind of started turning, we're down 4-1. And the message was like, stick to the structure. And the guys did. And we came back and won that game 5-4. So when you have moments like that, it helps your team or your company believe in the structure, style of play, identity. Again, those 3 words are all the same for me.
Great. Anything else, Lauren, before I do want to say this, if you have anything else, Lauren, but before you do, Ian, I don't want you to get jealous, but
I don't think Tony met Esme. Hey, Tony. He's like,
Hi.
is that a golden doodle? I don't know my.
that's a Bernie doodle.
Ah,
A
gorgeous.
Bernie Mountain duck. Yeah, she's good. She's a good girl.
Ian,
Sorry.
but I have maybe something you don't have in hockey, and that is I had a bobblehead night at the Phantoms.
Oh, I don't have that. Never had that. You're lucky, man. I don't have that.
And the next day, COVID started, and the whole world shut down. That was.
Oh well, I don't. Well, that's COVID. What's that? Oh, I'm so tired of that.
Yeah, talk about real quick. Talk about that. I know we're out of time, but we could go on forever. But that's another thing. I mean, you can have the luck of the draw where you could be on a roll. You get 4 or 5 players that are out for COVID. It can upset the whole momentum of the team.
We had at one point we had 9 guys out for COVID, and we practiced twice in 11 days because they had to wait 5 days, and we played 3 games in 3 nights. We played Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Our last practice was Tuesday. Guys had to miss all that time on their couch, couldn't do much. And again, that's tough. Like I didn't have to go through that as a player, but I give my players credit. They found ways to get points on that weekend. And I got hit by COVID too. Like it didn't hit me hard, but it's just a reality that I think 18 of our players and coaching staff, maybe more than that, we all had it, which is kind of good news. It won't hit. Hopefully, it won't hit us again. But it's our new reality. I mean, it's sad, but I don't think COVID's going anywhere.
I want to turn over to Lauren Spence, but before I do, Ian Laperriere, you're a great guy. It's great to talk with this for an hour. Talk about great people. Our international electrical workers, good guy, Paul Anthony and the gang. They do great work, hardworking people, and they sponsored this. So thank you, Paul, and the electrical workers here in the Lehigh Valley. Got a great place on Walnut Street. Did a brand new rehab of a building. Good people. So Lauren Spence, I'm going to turn it over to you. We can close this out.
Thank you so much, Tony. And thank you again, Ian, for being on today's episode of Game Changers. It was great talking with you. And I hope I see you next time I'm at the PPL Center for a Phantoms game.
Yeah.
And all the good energy for the upcoming games that are coming up.
All right. Thank you.
For our viewers at home, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Game Changers. Stay tuned to the Chamber's social media pages for our latest episodes, and we'll see you soon. Thank you so much again, Ian.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.